Yeah, sure. Okay. Recording has started. Oh wait, hang on. We might fish on. I repeat, fish on. We might have one more person watching the stream. Let's fucking go! Yeah, 2 people. Okay. Yeah, well, I started the recording, so. Okay. Words are. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna have to cut this out of the start. I'm not cutting shit. Nothing will be cut. Fuck am I talking about? I'm just gonna yap. I don't give a fuck about quality. Quality control. We don't have that here. Yeah. How do I start this? Yo. So yeah, I'm just gonna yap. This is something I am doing entirely on a whim. I've always done this thing because ever since I was a kid, I was obsessed with like YouTubers and the concept of YouTube having a channel and an audience through which to just yap about stuff. Where did 6 people come from? I guess it's 5 because I count as one of those people. But yeah, it's just something I do. Or I just kind of like stand in the shower, or like when I'm alone at home cooking, I just think about like, just, what if I had a YouTube channel? What would I talk about? What would I do with it? And what I usually come to is just yapping about stuff I like. And I think a lot of the things that I care about, enjoy, and appreciate have already been yapped about, to the point where I don't think I need to talk about them. But what I think I can provide unique perspective on is twofold. One of those things, and all the other people who were here have just left. Goodbye, those people. But they are twofold, and I guess they're threefold. I will probably only get to one of them. If I get to all of it, so be it. I'm just gonna talk. But yeah, so I wanted to talk specifically about a character from one of my favorite video games. That character's name is Hubert Oswell. So Hubert is a character from Tales of Graces. I don't know when Tales of Graces came out. What time did Tales of Graces come out? Tales of Graces came out in 2009? Oh, that's an old game. That's as old as League of Legends. So yeah, Hubert is a character from Tales of Graces. If you don't know who that is or what that game is, which is probably everyone who will end up watching this video, if anybody, you can look it up because we don't have a budget here. I am just yapping. But to give you the details you need to know, Hubert is... So the story of Tales of Graces starts off with the 4 sort of main characters being children. I believe at this point in the story, Asbel is... because it's a 10-year time skip, so I think Asbel is either 8 or 9. Asbel is the older brother. I will explain all this stuff. And Hubert is the younger brother, so he would be either 8 or 7. I can't remember if by the end of the game he is 17 or 18. But so he starts off the story, little kid. All these main characters are little kids. So there's Asbel, who is the sort of impulsive gonna get comfortable here. Impulsive, kind of standoffish, brash, adventurous big brother. And then there is Hubert, who is a pretty stark contrast to Asbel. He's kind of everything Asbel isn't, whereas Asbel knows a lot about the world, well, a lot for a kid, and is very adventurous. Hubert is very scared. He's very timid. He doesn't really venture outside of what he's used to, which is his home. He likes being around his family, and like I said, he's scared of things. Like, he's the kind of kid who's scared of his own shadow. So, like, he doesn't like to stray away from, like, his brother's side, usually. He feels safe with his brother. So he starts off the story as this innocent little guy, this small little bean. If you look it up, or if you've just played the game, you'll know he's like the cutest little boy. He's scared of it. He's got like the rosy cheeks. He fights with like little sticks. It's really cute. And he starts off the story like that. This kind of doesn't know what he's doing little guy. And then something happens. So during the story, they meet this girl named Sophie. She's just kind of out in the middle of a field. She just kind of shows up out of nowhere. And Asbel and Hubert are like, well, there's a person here. That's pretty cool. Some things happen over the course of the story, and they meet the future king of the country they live in, which is called Windor. Continent. The kingdom they live in, which is called Windor. And that prince's name is Richard. So they meet this guy, they chop it up with him. They're like, whoa, hey, you're the prince. And Asbel is like, I'm gonna take you on a dumb adventure. So they do that, and they end up losing Sophie. Sophie gets killed by some thing that at this point they don't know what it is, nor is it relevant, so I won't really talk about it. But Sophie dies, and these kids have lost, like, you know, they made a friend, someone who isn't a member of their family, someone who isn't like someone who works in the palace they live in, the mansion, I guess. And she dies right in front of them when they are very young kids. And then, to top it off, Hubert gets sent off to another country, this country being called Strata, which is pretty different from Windor. Whereas Windor is like this green, verdant place, Strata is a desert. And the people there are pretty different as well. So this kid who everything he knows, everything he feels safe with, like his family, all of that stuff, they just cast him aside. His dad, for reasons that Hubert does not yet know, just kind of gives him away to another family. The reasons for this are later expanded upon. He does later come to understand this. Yeah, his story is kind of tragic. And he, like, you know, the story goes on. 10 whole years go by. So a lot of time has gone by. These kids are not really adults by now, but, you know, they're 18, they're around 18. They're in that ballpark. Asbel sort of stays the same. As a kid, he wanted to be a knight, and he wanted to protect people. And his story is basically like, over these 10 years, he feels guilty that he couldn't protect the people that he cared about. Sophie literally died, and his brother is gone now. Not sold off to another family, but given away to another family. And no one told Asbel why, outside of it was for his own good, and you are kind of the problem. Like, you are a bad influence on Hubert, so we send him to a family that would be a better influence on him and could give him the kind of life that he should have had. So obviously, Asbel feels really bad about that. But the character that I think is far more interesting is Hubert, because for the longest time, you don't even know, like, is Hubert still alive? What's this guy up to? Where did he go? How's he doing in Strata? What is Strata? Because for the opening of the game, you don't know what Strata is. You've never seen it. You've never been there. All you know is Lant, the area where these kids grew up, and like the fact that there is a capital called Verona. Those are like the only two places you ever go to at the start of the game. So everything is very, it's the world of a child. It's very small. It's contained. But when the world opens up and you go to Strata, or rather, before that, when Hubert just shows up in Windor, the game is called Tales of Graces, shows up in Lot specifically, he's kind of like a larger-than-life figure. He has gone from this little kid to the lieutenant of the Stratan military, and he kind of just like walks into Lant, and it's what you would expect to be this like big moment, because his soldiers basically fight off like this threat that, for all intents and purposes, was going to completely destroy this city. Everything that Asbel grew up with, the main character of the story, Asbel, grew up with, was about to get destroyed by another country and their soldiers. And then out of nowhere, this blue-haired kid that you're like, wait, is that who I think it is? That couldn't be Hubert. Like, he looks completely different. And then, like, Asbel's like, wait, that's my brother. And then, like, some gears start turning, and you start realizing, wait, Asbel stayed largely the same. Like, when you see Asbel, you can be like, yeah, that's him. Like, that's the same kid that I saw. When you see Hubert, it's like, whoa, he changed. Like, I mean, his hair looks the same. Everything else completely different. Completely out the window. He's got glasses now, so he looks all sophisticated and, like, official. He wears, like, this really fancy suit. And he's got this sick, unique weapon. It's called a dual blade. And we'll get to that, too. We'll talk about that. But, like, he's this cool, larger-than-life guy now. And you're like, whoa, what happened here? And that is why I love Hubert so much, because there's so much there, but the game doesn't do him the disservice of just telling you everything. There's context clues that are given to you throughout the game. Like, you don't know who is Mr. Oswell, this guy that Hubert was sent off to. You don't know what Strata looks like. The most you know now, by this point in the story, is that apparently they're really strong. I mean, they saved us. You don't know why, but they did it. You don't know why Hubert's here. He won't tell you. Outside, like, the most he tells you, which is not his actual reason per se, is that he was sent here by Strata. Which is true, but it's not the full story. And that's, like, kind of one of the big things I like about Hubert, is that he doesn't tell you the whole story on purpose, because he's a layered character. There's a lot to appreciate. He goes from this innocent kid to a very, like, standoffish, self-sufficient, kind of an asshole, very blunt, very brutally honest, sophisticated adult. who is, for all intents and purposes, way more of an adult than Asbel is. He's way better of a leader. He knows what he's doing. He's got like official business. Like in terms of rank, he's higher up than Asbel is. Like sure, Asbel becomes the lord of the city he's from, but in terms of like his position in the military, Asbel is just a regular knight. Whereas Hubert is the lieutenant. He's like second in command, basically. He's really high up there. He's got credentials now. And I think it's the perfect direction for his character to go. He is like what happened to Hubert? His family gave him away. So, as a result, he has trust issues now. Because why wouldn't he? He becomes like very, not paranoid, but like it takes him a long time to trust people. Basically, his story arc with every character he meets in the entirety of the story from here on is like, I don't trust you. And they have to earn it. Like, they really have to earn his trust. And that's like the first thing I love about Hubert is he goes from this innocent guy that just implicitly is cool with everybody and is nice to everybody to what's your deal? I'm not gonna trust you, and I'm not just gonna let you in without you giving me something to work with. Like characters end up having to save his life or something drastic to where he's finally like, okay, I guess I can trust you now. So that's interesting. But the great thing is that through all of this, through all these things you figure out about Hubert, none of it is just told to you. Like, the story isn't just like, Hubert became this way because his dad gave him away. Hubert now does not trust people because his family did not do him the service of trusting him. It's all sort of like through subtext that's communicated to the player, like I said, subtextually. And that's the hallmark of good writing. When they show, but they don't tell. They give you everything you need to know to figure out why Hubert works the way he does, but they don't just tell you why he works the way he does, which in a large way is sort of what Hubert has become. He's become this guy who is like a show, don't tell type of person. Show me who you are. Don't just tell me I can trust you. Give me something that says, yeah, I can trust you now. Something tangible. And I think another thing that's really interesting about Hubert is, outside of the way that he changes as a complete 180, the only character who really becomes different from this entire time skip and becomes completely different, is also expressed through the subtext that is his fighting style. And this is where the Ludo narrative harmony really is like chef's kiss, because Hubert's weapon and the way he fights are some of the most unique things I've ever seen in a video game. I've never seen this weapon like used in any other video game. It's called a dual blade. And it's something that captured my imagination and my like adoration as a kid so much that to this day I still like design characters who use it. Literally my like biggest OC, the character I named myself after, Nikisha, her weapon's a fucking dual blade. And the best way I can describe a dual blade is to describe it similar to the way that you describe every weapon in the web series Ruby, the series that ended up sucking ass despite having an interesting premise and being really cool, but they ended up fumbling the bag. And that description is, it's also a gun. So, like, he has this dual blade. It's like two conjoined swords, basically. It's like, if I put a sword here and I had a sword here and I just stuck them together, this is a dual blade. I fight with this. This is my stabby stick. But he can take it apart, and now it's two swords, and the swords are also a gun. Like, he can shoot people and he can slice them up. And I think just in that alone, there's interesting stuff. Like, he basically is like a stance change character in like a fighting game. Kind of, not really. Every character in this game has like a gimmick where they have like the A arts, which are like their standard attacks, and then the B arts, which are their like unique things that they do that sort of augment their gameplay and make them unique, makes them who they are. For Asbel, he fights with his sword sheathed or out. For Hubert, it's kind of different, where he fights with the swords like together, or he takes them apart and uses them as a gun. So like he's got either super up close, personal, in your face type of aggressive, brazen, brash fighting, or he can like keep you at a very comfortable distance because he can just shoot you from over. Blah blah blah. Like I'm just gonna shoot you from here. And like part of that is his character, you know, like the distrusting cold shoulder, like I'm not, get back up. That's the gun. But on the other hand, you've got this like really aggressive fighting style that he has, and I think it's interesting because there's two things about it. There's one which is like Hubert became sort of a fight first, ask questions later. That's not really accurate, but he's like, you know, he's more bold now. It shows in his character that he is a more bold person, more willing to take risks. And I think it also sort of in a like Joseph Joestar and Caesar Zeppeli way shows that the two of them rub off on one another. Like, what's the defining moment that ends up getting Caesar killed in JoJo's Part 2? Spoilers for JoJo's Part 2, I guess. I didn't think I'd be talking about JoJo's Part 2 right now. But Caesar ends up dying because of how much Joseph has rubbed off on him. Like, Caesar usually is like a very patient fighter. His fighting style is like these bubbles, which seem harmless, but they're very effective at what they do. And they're sort of a reactive tool more so than an aggressive tool. Joseph is very brazen. He's kind of a like bold type of fighter. Takes a lot of risks when he fights. And not only is that shown through Caesar's decision making in this show don't tell way, where he goes from like usually wanting to, you know, to play the patient game to like we're going to take the fight to them. But also he comes up with this unique fighting style at the end where that like exemplifies this new like brash fighting style that is like taking the initiative. That's really interesting, and it shows you that these two, despite how different they are, have become very close and they care about each other, and that shows in the fact that they rub off on one another and how they fight. It's the same for Hubert, where you wouldn't think it from how standoffish he is to his brother now. Like, he kind of, at the start of the time skip, he kind of hates Asbel, and you can see it. Like, he, not just Asbel, but he hates his whole family. Like, his mom is like, oh my god, I'm so happy to see you, and he's like, bitch. Like, he does not fuck with these people anymore because they gave him up. But you can see, even before the story shows you, that he still cares, that he still appreciates these people, and that he still wants to see them like happy and see them safe. You can see it first in the way he fights, because like the first scene that Hubert shows up in is like him fighting alongside you, which doesn't stick forever, but through that fighting style, this mix, you can see like Asbel, this bold kid, and Hubert, this bold adult, fight kind of similarly, where it's like a very in-your-face, up-close and personal type of thing. Whereas before, Hubert's like, one of Hubert's most iconic moves as a kid, this thing where he's like just kind of swinging his sticks around, just like, no, is like, he says, stay away from me. Which is like, you know, gun. Stay away from me. But on the other hand, the opposite end of his fighting style is like up close, in your face action. And that just shows how like Oswell and Hubert kind of rub off on one another. And it goes to the story's overall theme that family and bonds are like eternal, and they are very powerful, and they mean a lot. So yeah, I think that's interesting. But then there's one more thing about Hubert's fighting style that's like some chef's kiss in terms of character writing, which is, so in this game, Tales of Graces, there are 4 characters that have healing arts. Arts are like the things you fight with. It's like moves in an anime, like the demon slash or whatever. That kind of thing. And there are 4 characters that have healing arts. There's Sharia, who it makes complete sense with her personality. Like people literally say that her presence like heals people. She's so soothing. She's just a very nice person. So that makes sense. It makes sense why Sophie also has healing arts, because Pokemon moves, more or less. Makes sense why Sophie has healing arts, because you learn later on in the story that she's a robot who was created to save people. There's Pascal, who is just weird. Like, her whole thing is that she's weird, and it makes sense that she has healing arts because she's weird. Why wouldn't she have healing arts? Why wouldn't this character, who just so happens to be like a member of this race that we thought didn't exist, who is also a mega genius who solves all of the important mysteries in the game, why wouldn't she also know how to heal? Sure, she does. Makes sense. But then there's Hubert. This guy who's like, cold, abrasive, doesn't really fuck with people. Why does he have healing arts? Like, things that are meant to help people through like getting close to them, nurturing. Why does he have this? And you realize that not only does he have like the ability to do these things, they're sort of like the accessories to the rest of his abilities. Most of his abilities are purely for offense. But deep in his like learn set, he's got this spell called Healing Wind, which is one of the few like AoE healing spells in the game. I guess not few, but it's one of the healing spells in the game, and it's an AoE, so it can heal multiple people, but it's usually just for like one person at a time. Or Antidote, which is sort of like a recovery, like, it heals your status effects. And it's sort of like, when you level up, it's sort of akin to character progression. As this character grows, their level increases to reflect that. And it's sort of like, as the story progresses and as Hubert progresses as a character, those innocent, childish parts of himself start coming back up to the surface. They sort of bubble up, And it's like that little kid who was just a really nice little guy, this little innocent fella, he's still in there. Like, Hubert still wants to help people. He's still a nice guy. It's just, he's different now. And those healing spells aren't the hallmark of his kit, Like, he's not Sharia, whose whole thing is that she's a doctor now and she heals people. But, he still cares about people, and he still wants to see people healthy and happy. And I think on top of that, there's also the stats, which are interesting, because Hubert is sort of like he's the most offensive character in the game, statistically speaking. He has the highest physical attack, but the lowest, it's called Creus attack. Think of it as like special attack in Pokemon, or like magic attack in like a JRPG or whatever. So like his healing spells aren't that powerful. they're percentage based anyway, so it's not like his Krios attack super matters for that. But like, you know, his like the main thing you're supposed to do with him is like the aggressive, like up close in your face thing. But he also still has those guns that he can use. They're just not super powerful. However, what I think is interesting about that, specifically with his stats, is his defenses. So there's 2 defensive stats in this game. There is, well, I guess there's evasion, but evasion is also its own thing. But there is defense, there's Krios, well, there's physical defense, and there's Krios defense. Physical defense is, you know, physical defense. Like, this person just stabbed me, how well do I take it? Versus Krios defense, which is like resistance in like other games. You know, it's like how well you take magic damage. And I think that parallel where Krios defense is resistance and defense is like, you know, the physical stuff, I think that is in its own way like a thing that you can analyze. This is kind of a stretch because, you know, the stats are called physical defense and Krios defense, not defense and resistance. But regardless, I think the fact that Hubert's physical attack is so high, you know, because he's like abrasive and aggressive now, versus his physical defense being so low and his magic defense being so high, also sort of play into this personality that the game is trying to represent in Hubert. He, you know, his defense is low because deep down he's that same little kid who he wasn't ready to be on his own. He always was his safest and happiest when he was around his family. He just wanted to cling to, like, he was the kind of kid who would like cling to his mom's skirt and like, you know, peek out from behind to make sure things are safe. So it shows that kid is still there. That kid never left. That kid who isn't quite ready. But his resistance is high because he learned from that and he changed so much to become like the kind of guy who you could describe by saying, like, you know, it falls off of me like water off of a duck, where he kind of doesn't care anymore, or at least he doesn't show that he cares. So he can, like, now he can resist future, like, trust falling through because he's not going to trust you, or like he can be resistant to people changing on him because he expects that now. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I think so. So, like, I say all of that to... Please hold for technical difficulties. Hang on. There we go. I didn't notice that was falling off. I hit it before, but then I was like, no, it's fine. It wasn't fine. But yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. I was going to talk about some other characters, but I think that's a yap for a future time. Elevator music. This is from Persona 5. And it is kind of elevator music-y, which is why I picked it. But yeah. I guess I should do some sort of an outro. I just wanted the yap. I kind of just wanted to talk about this because, like I said, I've never seen anyone talk about this character before, literally even once. And I think there's a lot to talk about with the characters in Tales of Graces. It has one of my favorite casts in any video game ever. I think really the only games that beat it are like Persona games, honestly, or like SMT4. And I think Hubert in particular is such a great example of ludonarrative harmony, as well as show don't tell type of storytelling in a very show don't tell character. I think his personality reflects that, and I think his personality before and after the time skip does a fantastic job of sort of getting at the roots of Tales of Grace's themes and story about people. No matter how much people change, the bonds that you formed are never going anywhere. And as much as they change, they still, in weird ways, remain exactly the same. The dynamics between people remain largely the same. They can change, they can develop, and that's not always a bad thing. It's not always a good thing per se, but it's not always a bad thing. Yeah. That's really it. I'm not gonna edit this, I'm just gonna post it. And I highly doubt anyone will watch this except for like the friends I'm gonna send it to after I'm done. But on the off chance that you are a complete stranger to me, you don't know who I am, and you click on this after I have posted it, my Twitch channel is twitch.tv/valor_TL. And I don't stream often, but I stream occasionally. I just kind of do whatever I want, and I just kind of yap like this, or I just goof off with my friends or whatever. I'm a pretty chill kind of viber. I'm trans. I'm black. I'm a woman. I'm non-binary. I'm asexual. If any of that is interesting to you, which it should be, you know, give me a shot. I might do more videos in the future. I probably will. This was literally all brought on by a fucking therapy appointment. Oddly enough, where I was just talking about the importance of story and like storytelling, both in life and in like media. So I decided to talk about storytelling, and the example that I think does a really good job at it. But yeah, that's it. I guess I will do this again maybe. So if I do, hopefully I'll see you there.